What more are you learning?
Well, at this point, it's a statement from Hamas itself and also from Iranian state media, and they are quoting the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, saying that Ismail Haniyeh, the political leader of Hamas, has been killed in Tehran, in the Iranian capital. Now, at this point, there are no details of exactly what happened. We know he was killed, according to the reports from state media, with his bodyguard as well. And we understand that he was in Tehran for the inauguration of the new Iranian president. Now, that happened on Tuesday. He was still in Tehran. We don't know the exact timing of when this event took place. There has been no claim of responsibility, but most suspicions are falling on Israel at this point. We have asked Israeli authorities for comment on this. Israel has made it very clear that it considers all of the leaders of Hamas to be a target since the October 7th attacks by Hamas in Israel last year. And we have seen a number of the leaders be assassinated. The military number 2 in Gaza, for example, Mohammed Daif, was killed recently, and we know that they are trying to get more leaders. So this is a significant development. Ismail Haniyeh has been part of Hamas since the 80s. He is a very significant figure within this group. We know that he took over as the political leader in 2017. Much of his time after that was spent outside of Gaza. He has been living in Doha, Qatar. He's also been free to travel around some other countries, for example, Iran. He's been in Turkey as well. But Israel did say that it did consider all of these leaders to be a target since October 7th. So it's at this point is a significant development. Israel has not claimed responsibility, made any comment, which is not unusual when it comes to some of these attacks we have seen in the past. Now, we heard a statement as well from Hamas calling it a, quote, Zionist raid on a residence in Tehran. So they're very clear about who they believe was responsible for this. Now, Haniyeh himself had joined Hamas back in the 80s during the first Intifada, and he was a very vocal, a very public spokesperson and political leader for the group. We do know that Israel had been going after his family in Gaza since October 7th. In fact, just 1 month after those Hamas attacks, they did target his residence in Gaza City. We know they have also targeted his family. A number of his children have been killed in Israeli airstrikes since that attack. But as we have been speaking for just recent hours, an assassination talked about in Beirut of a Hezbollah leader. The fact we are now talking about the political leader of Hamas potentially being assassinated in Tehran, it is a very significant development.
You're describing him as this political leader. What does his death mean to leadership now within Hamas? And is there someone who would take the place of this man?
Well, at this point, given what is happening in Gaza, the political leadership and the military leadership really does not have too much communication. We know that Yahya Sinwar is in Gaza, or believed to be in Gaza. At this point, Israeli officials believe that he is in the tunnel network, potentially hiding from Israeli airstrikes. He is the number one target that they have at this point. But when you're looking at, for example, the negotiations of a possible hostage release deal, a ceasefire deal, the negotiations really focus on Yahya Sinwar. So he is the key man in Gaza at this point to try and get that deal done. But we have heard a lot from Ismail Haniyeh as well. He was presumably in touch with the military leadership. But given the nature of what is happening, given the war in Gaza at this point, the political and military leadership is certainly quite separate, it appears, and communication would be extremely difficult. But we have seen that a number of political leaders have been assassinated in the past, and there has always been someone to take their place. For example, Sheikh Yassin, the founder of Hamas, Ismail Haniyeh, was very close to him and was one of his assistants. And then Sheikh Yassin was assassinated. So this is not unusual when it comes to these groups. Certainly with Hamas, we have seen a number of leaders be assassinated by Israel. So it would not be a surprise to see another political figure emerge. But at this point, obviously, the focus for Israel is also on the military leadership in Gaza.